Good afternoon. This is Sycamore Canyon Vista overlooking beautiful Sycamore Canyon. A nice spot to take a look down. And I'm going to break at this scenic location to talk about an anime.
Lupin III, The Secret of Mama.
Lupin III is a contemporary crime-adventure comedy series, and The Secret of Mamo is the first of 24 Lupin III anime movies and TV specials, a franchise that's still being animated today, 35 years since its creation. The main characters are always the same. Lupin III himself is a notorious international thief with a heart, and the hero of the story. His gang comprises Jigen, an expert gunman, and Goemon, a swordsman with a very special blade. And sometimes Fujiko, a sexy thief and con woman who's the object of Lupin's lust. She's sometimes an accomplice and sometimes a rival. Interpol Inspector Zenigata has devoted his life to bringing Lupin and his gang to justice, and he's becoming an obviously very frustrated man. All any Lupin III story needs to round out that cast is something to steal. A bad guy with a dastardly plan, maybe a damsel in distress, and definitely some car chases. The Secret of Mamo establishes a structure that would be used in almost all subsequent Lupin III movies, OVAs, and specials, similar to the James Bond films. Start with a quick caper with an amazing escape, then roll the titles in a style also reminiscent of Bond, and finally get down to the story. By the way, the Lupin III franchise has now accumulated more movies than James Bond. In The Secret of Mamo, the movie starts with a hanging, Lupin's execution. Inspector Zenigata doesn't really believe he's dead, but the body is Lupin's, and it's definitely dead. For some reason, Lupin's body has been interred in a creaky old castle. That's incomprehensible, perhaps, but it makes for an interesting visual. There's also another skeptic present in the castle, Lupin himself. That's suspicious. The main story gets started with Lupin, Jigen, and Goemon breaking into an Egyptian pyramid to steal the ancient Philosopher's Stone. Alert Ed now. Zenigata has anticipated this theft based on a series of similar thefts of artifacts, and he's hoping to make an arrest here. Good luck with that.
There's no escape, Lupin! That passage goes right to the top!
It turns out Lupin is stealing these items for Fujiko. She's a lot more out for herself and a lot less Lupin ally than in most Lupin III capers. Fujiko, in turn, is working for a mysterious man in the shadows. I think you can guess that his name will eventually be revealed as Mamo. He turns out to be a brilliant but creepy-looking little guy with a taste for fine art and earth-shaking plans. I can't decide if it reminded me more of the kids from Akira or Pinky and the Brain. Obviously, Lupin and company have, shall we say, a professional curiosity about what Fujiko is up to. If Fujiko isn't being entirely honest with Lupin, well, the suspicion is reciprocated. Lupin III's stories are all told somewhere on the spectrum of light adventure comedy. Some directors take a more serious approach than others. Some become totally silly, while others aspire to more dramatic sentiments. All display cartoonish violence, gunplay, swordplay, car chases and crashes, and explosions of different sorts. The action also features absurd physical feats. Even in its most gentle incarnation, the bad guy will usually be threatening some absurd plot of mass destruction, as well as more individual violence. It's not unheard of for one of the non-recurring characters to die. Juxtaposing that with the comedy and cartoonish action and wildly eccentric plotting requires a deft touch. The Secret of Mamo can be a little ham-fisted in that regard. For example, as Lupin and friends are relaxing in a Parisian street cafe, a helicopter gunship attacks them. Naturally, Lupin and his friends escape the hail of bullets unharmed, but the other cafe patrons get shot full of bloody holes and uncharacteristically gruesome carnage. The movies also vary which facets of Lupin's personality they emphasize. We know he's greedy because he's a thief, after all. He's also a womanizer, always after Fujiko or any other fair young woman the story might introduce. But he can also play a chivalrous and noble rogue coming to the aid of a damsel in distress, or just saving the world. In The Secret of Mamo, he'll get to do both. It's probably no surprise that I prefer the more noble Lupin. The damsel in distress here will have to be Fujiko this time, though she seems to have things under control all by herself as she manipulates Lupin into stealing things for her mysterious benefactor.
It's her. Mm-hmm.
Lupin?
It means, my dear Fujiko, that you are a rose and I have been pricked by the thorn of your indifference.
The thorn of my indifference? Oh, brother.
Boy, you're all thorns, and after all I went through to get you that damn stone.
Lupin III is based on a manga by a man calling himself Monkey Punch. It had a TV series run prior to this movie, as well as a live-action film, The Psychokinetic Strategy, which you can actually find in the US, though I don't recommend it. The second and then a third TV series premiered after The Secret of Mamo, and 24 theatrical movies and TV specials have followed since. The artwork in this Lupin III movie leans towards the cartoonish, far from my favorite character art style. I personally prefer Miyazaki's designs in the next Lupin III movie, Castle Cagliostro. Taking full advantage of the big screen debut for these characters, the producers waste no time removing Fujiko's clothing. The story suffers from the lack of the usual character in need of rescue, which leaves Lupin being more of a criminal than a hero this time around. And the action leans a bit heavily on big explosions, as if it were directed by Michael Bay. The background music is composed by TV series and longtime Lupin III composer Yuji Ono, who provides a jazz-themed soundtrack to go with his classic Lupin III theme song. Artistically, The Secret of Mamo does give us some interesting art, including an interesting chase through a landscape of classic artwork and sculptures that are part of Mamo's collection. There was a 1998 U.S. release of this movie from Streamlined and Image Entertainment titled The Mystery of Mamo. It has only a stilted English dub, and the UK did another dub which I've never heard. A fourth dub on Pioneer's 2002 DVD has both English and Japanese soundtracks and English subtitles. Its English dub is a bit awkward, for example giving Zenigata an inconsistent Texas accent. It also plays loose with the translation, not that it's any stranger than the reversioning Funimation has done with several of their Lupin III titles. They've both made an effort to update the character's badinage with some modern American wit. Speaking of which, The Secret of Mamo is one of the Lupin III titles that's not included in Funimation's movie packs. The Secret of Mamo was originally made back in 1978 and includes several characters who were caricatures of real people from that era. While the U.S. presidential advisor both looks and sounds like a caricature of Henry Kissinger in this dub, the dub gives the U.S. president himself an imitation of George W. Bush's voice from the time frame when that dub was done. For history majors, Gerald Ford was president when Mamo was made. Okay, so maybe I'm the only one who's old enough to notice that. Okay, I prefer the original Japanese voices, which have been more consistent than the varied casts of the many English dubs. I generally enjoy the antics of Lupin III. While the plot of Secret of Mamo isn't bad, the cartoonish antics that tell the story detract from the overall entertainment for me. While it has several fancifully entertaining scenes, it's not enough to make up for its dramatic shortfalls. So I give Lupin III, The Mystery of Mamo, a middling 3 stars. I decided to discuss it mainly because it was the first such movie, and also because I wanted to talk about a couple of Lupin III movies that were made immediately after it that I really liked. Because of the level of mayhem and the nudity, you're probably not going to want to share this one with your grandkids.
Thanks for watching.